Amazing! Welcome to the Get Momentum for Online Entrepreneurs podcast with your host, me, Penny Elliott. This is the show where we match the woo with the do, the perfect mix of mindset and strategy to have fast success in your online business so you can actually live the life you thought you were when you first started your business. And I've stepped straight from the blustery beach today swimming, and today I have being joined by Elle. And she is from Costa Rica, and it's way warmer over there than it is here, even though we are heading into summer. So while she's sitting there in a t-shirt and I'm here in a jersey and I've just taken my puffer jacket off, we are about to warm up your ears and your eyes if you're watching with some amazing nuggets today about how to have consistent clients. So no one sells themselves better than themselves. So I'm going to pass it over to you and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, what you do, and how you help people.
Amazing. Hi, I'm super excited to be here. I'm Elle. I'm a brand strategist and storytelling mentor. And what I love to do is teach women in business how to use their own stories to craft authentic messages that will help them convey their vision, inspire their audience to take action, and engage with them in a really powerful way.
Wow, amazing. So many people always come to me, clients after clients after clients. And, I'm heading into my 5th year in business. And so we've served hundreds of clients, and they're always hung up on messaging, right? If something's not going right, it's your messaging. It's like this, it's like almost the diet pill for online entrepreneurs, really, isn't it? It's like, you've got to get your messaging right. You've got to get your messaging right. So I'm really excited to dive into this with you today, and really help the listeners and anyone watching this on YouTube that how to really develop that. I think I'm quite excited to have you on.
Well, I'm glad you're excited. And yes, messaging usually in marketing seem to be like the ultimate nemesis, of the small and medium entrepreneurs. And it's because we've been taught that telling things as we think it is wrong. Yeah. We have always been compared to our classmates or our brothers or sisters. So we've learned to really hide our truth and just say whatever it is that is expected of us. And storytelling is totally the opposite, is understanding what you're all about, like really, really all about, and putting it out there in the world, because that's what makes you unique. And that's what really people want to know from you in order to work with you.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Obviously, I'm not going to say no because you're the professional, but I've definitely found that, I've had several clients say to me, oh, well, you're a bit unprofessional in your approach. And I felt like saying, have you looked at anything that I've put out there? Because I even swear on my website. So if you come to me and you think that swearing is offensive, then you've not read or listened or heard any of my story or where I've come from. And I think that too many times we try to be something because it's work, and especially people who've come from corporate, they're not allowed to say this, and you're not allowed to, let on that this is happening, it all has to be rosy. But when it's your own business, you can be, and the more you are that, the more people will resonate with you. Some of my most successful clients have had really harrowing stories, and that's why, or really like huge transformations in their own life, and that's why so many people come to them.
Yes, absolutely. And the same thing has happened to a lot of my clients. I've even had clients that come from the Navy. Imagine that. They're just like, their messaging
oh my gosh, yes,
robotic. And what happens is that they start attracting this type of people that are difficult to work with, because it's not the people they want to serve. But instead, when we work on their messaging and we start crafting this powerful story that, they have inside, it's just a matter of tweaking it and putting it out into the world, they start attracting the kind of people they actually want to serve. And that's what you're saying, like you swear on your messaging. And that's important because you want people to be comfortable working with who you really are, not, this perfect version of yourself that, may attract some people, But in the long run, is that what you want your business to be like? It's like,
Yeah.
it makes no sense. It's something that you won't be able to sustain over time.
That's the thing. You can't sustain it, you know? And so I guess that really brings us into the question that I ask all of my guests is like, we're all about creating that consistent clients. And as you said, you can't sustain that facade. So don't even try that. So, you know, so when you're talking to your clients about creating that consistent flow of clients, like what's the secret sauce that you have or that you offer for consistent?
Well, just as your podcast, I love to combine just the perfect amount of woo with business. So after more than 10 years investing in my personal development, I decided to incorporate some of the best practices that I learned into my own business. So I use things from guided meditations to helping people align with their true purpose to really make them see that what they are is already worthy and it's already good enough. They don't have to be someone else or use someone else's words in order to craft compelling messages. So the first part is all about getting to know yourself first. Because if you don't know yourself, how can you share your real self?
Yeah. And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, that just comes from a lot of practice. So most people said starting a podcast, like, you know, you'll go back to your first episodes and you'll just cringe because you'll develop the more you do it. But I guess with messaging, I find a lot of people think this is my message, I'm going to stick with it, it's stuck. Where I guess if you're still trying to identify yourself and get alignment, that's going to move. And can you speak to that?
Definitely. I mean, you can have a sense of the message that you want to get across, but honestly, just as anything, it will evolve. You're not the same person when you started your business than when you're halfway there or when you have 5 years. So you have to be also aware and accept the idea that your message is going to evolve as you evolve. That is one. And the other thing that I think it's really important is that people don't really know how to like appreciate what they're already good at. You actually have to have a little bit of perspective and have someone from the outside tell you what you're good at. And that is something I like to do with my clients, because sometimes, let's say I'm super good at organizing things and it comes so natural to me that I don't even pay attention to it, but maybe other people will look at that specific skill and appreciate it a lot more. So we need to determine those little key things that make you you. And just as any other skill, storytelling takes practice. But once you understand the framework, you're going to be able to put that skill that you were not paying so much attention, but other people were praising, and craft a compelling story that shows your audience why they should be working with you, why you're different, and why you're the real deal.
Amazing. And then once you have that out into the wider world, it makes it easy for the clients to come to you because you're being authentic. Is that right?
It's absolutely right. I mean, the world out there is crazy, and your audience is probably as tired of buzzwords and clickbaits as you are.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we sometimes commit the crime of doing exactly the same thing we hate. So storytelling is all about taking away all of the jargon, taking away all of the buzzwords, and just sticking to what your audience needs to listen. What is the real you? And you can get a lot of like amazing insights, amazing resources, even from everyday life. It's all a matter of paying attention and being willing to share what you were able to learn or transform from that situation.
100%. I have my copywriter, I voxer her whenever I come across a scenario that I think is good for a social media post or like is topical, you know, because often if I try and think about it and write it down later, I'll forget that moment. But there are so many, especially, you know, with kids and with sport that I do, you know, like swimming and running and cycling and stuff, there's always some sort of analogy that like is a really good story, you know, and so I always let her know.
Yeah. And that's something that, you know, I would recommend your audience to do. Like, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Once you sit down to write whatever happened, your mind gets in the way and you start to trying to sound like proper, or is this good enough? Am I writing this in the right way? But instead, when you record like a voice note or just keep it on your cell phone and then write it, you will have a much better story.
Well, interesting you say that, because my book, I voice recorded just about probably 98% of that, because I had a little newborn baby and I thought, oh, I can write a book at the same time. May everyone here out there, that is not a good idea, and I do not suggest that you try and write a book while having a baby at the same time. Be all right while you're pregnant, but not when they're born. Anyway, I managed to get it done within the year of his first year, but I voice recorded most of it because I laid out the format of it, and then I took a post-it note for each chapter and I stuck it on the buggy, and while he was sleeping in the buggy and I was pushing him around, I voice recorded it. And so many people, interestingly enough, not very many people know that, but so many people have sent me a message privately and said, it feels like you're just talking to me while I'm reading it. And isn't that so much nicer than big, fluffy, hard words that you go, oh, this is boring, I'm going to put it down, or, oh, I need to highlight that, you know. So, yeah, interesting you said that that's a good thing to do.
Totally. And you know, at the end of the day, we are being talked at all the time. It's like, buy this, purchase this, you're not good enough, so lose 10 pounds. But instead, whenever you listen to stories, on the other hand, you're talking to someone and they are talking, you know, to you instead of at you. And that is the magic of storytelling, like really being able to make those messages a lot more relatable. And after all, you know, clarity is the key to your audience's heart. So that is why I find storytelling to be an amazing tool for all entrepreneurs.
What a gold nugget that is. So don't talk at people, talk to them, and through stories. Awesome. So I guess the other thing I really like to share, like, that's how to get consistent clients. And then I guess the flip side of that is I like to highlight the fact that a lot of the storytelling, I guess, is, to stick with the theme of the episode, is embellished and kind of a bit of BS. A lot of people don't like to show the downward, or the, you know, the blips in the road of entrepreneurial-ness. And so I like to highlight those so that we can all learn from them. And also, I guess, give inspiration to the listeners who are probably thinking, oh, well, you know, this isn't going that well for me. It must be me. It's not just you. Everyone has it. So when have you had to really dig deep after a setback in your business and get momentum?
Well, actually, it happened in the beginning of this year. I got tempted by a corporate job, but I mean, it wasn't so corporate. It was a bit of woo also. So I decided to accept it because it was a shortcut to what I wanted to achieve. You know, I was going to help this transformational brand get across and help impact the life of a lot of different people. And it sounded appealing, but really it wasn't, you know, how I envisioned it. And because of COVID, I ended up selling a lot of beds instead of actually selling the transformation itself. So I had to rethink things, and I was like, okay, I already committed to this, but is this really where you want to be? Is this really where you want to put your talents into? And so I decided not to. And that experience helped me remember that I was in the right place to start with. So, you know, everything that happens for a reason. And even though I took that job and I took the shortcut, I don't regret it, because it made me realize that my mission is way more important And now that I'm back doing what I love, I mean, my business is exploding because I was able to find that alignment because of that.
Yeah.
So
Interesting, isn't it? How the universe will throw in a corporate job. I often always see that. And then it is a way for you to realize that actually I don't want to think, if this doesn't work, I can just go and get a job, because that's not what I want to do. So if this doesn't work, I will try something else, but I will keep pushing forward, right? So what an amazing lesson. And I want all of you who are listening to hear that, because that temptation will always come throughout your entire business career. And it is a way for you to realize that you are doing the right thing.
Exactly. Like, even if things get really, really difficult, it's your business and you're impacting people in a positive way, and you're able to create whatever you want, and that freedom doesn't have a price.
Yeah. Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. So I guess if you could go back, I mean, you probably just answered it then, but if you could go back to the beginning when you started your business, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your young entrepreneurial self?
Oh my God. I will tell her, don't worry about failing, because it's part of creation, and actually amazing things come after you fail.
Amazing.
That's definitely the advice I would give myself. Also, I would tell myself, don't care about what anyone else is saying, because they're going to judge you anyway. Yeah. So give them something to talk about.
Exactly. The funny thing is, we're so worried about what people will say. But no matter whether you fail or succeed, people will always have an opinion. So I'd rather have them have an opinion about me succeeding than an opinion about me failing.
They're going to share a story either way. So why not tell a story that you actually like?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess now, like, projecting forward, like, what legacy are you wanting to create and leave in this online space?
Well, honestly, I feel that storytelling is just part of the puzzle. But what I love most is really seeing like how my clients are able to bloom out of this and own their stories and feel empowered and feel confident enough to share their real selves. And as I help them, they will also empower other people to share their truth as well, you know, making the world a more authentic and brave place, one story at a time.
Amazing. It's like the story ripple effect.
Exactly.
Neat. So how can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can find me online. I love to hang around Instagram. They can find me as Hutt. That's ELEHUTT. Or they can go and find me on my website. It's ELENA. That's my whole name, Elena. HUTT. .com. Yes, ElenaHutt.com.
Just making sure that we've got that one. So we will we'll pop that in the show notes for everyone. Yes. And then, like, is there something for people to start with in storytelling that you can let them download?
Absolutely. I have a lot of free resources. They can just go to my website and they can download all of my freebies. But the best advice I can give you guys is that everyone has a story to tell. Even if it's small or if it's big, the size of the adversity is not equal to the power of your story. So even just a regular day story can impact someone else's lives. And that itself make your story worth sharing.
Wow. Yeah. Often I always, thought that the real successful entrepreneurs generally are introverts and either been like sexually abused or an alcoholic or totally overweight or absolutely broke, on food stamps. And then they've turned it around to become the successful entrepreneur. And I've often said, I've not had any of those issues. So is that why people won't work with me? Because like I haven't had this like destitute story of like, moving forward. So that's nice to know that actually, it can just be like a really like a day story. It doesn't have to be like this big lifelong event.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be ultra dramatic in order to be a good, successful story.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Well, you've inspired me.
I'm glad.
Thanks. And so what the last soundbite I always leave our listeners with is, what is your favorite one-liner you use every day to give yourself momentum?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess what I tell myself every single day is, you're good enough just as you are.
You're good enough just as you are. I love it.
Yeah.
That's probably something my mum would say to me, actually.
You have an amazing mom then.
I wouldn't say that. She's pretty crazy, but she's pretty good as well. Neat. Hey, well, thanks so much for joining me today, and helping people really understand that. I think the main nuggets to take away for me is not to speak at people, but to speak to them, and that like even tiny bits throughout your day can be a real big story for someone else, you know, and can make a real big transformation. So don't overlook those things that you take for granted, or the things that people say you're really good at, but you don't really accept or acknowledge. I think that that's really important as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so make sure that you guys head on over to Instagram and follow Elle, or otherwise over to her website and download some stuff and have a taste for what she's all about and get your story writing practice going.
Yay! I can't wait to read all of your stories. Like, it's so amazing to just listen to people and where they come from, how they were able to build their business, and just share their truth.
Yeah. Well, if you found this episode interesting, then make sure you share it with, share your story through a podcast review. That would be amazing. Or otherwise pop it on your Instagram stories, tagging the both of us in there, and tell us what your story is for the day. You know, what little nugget you've realized, I'm going to write something about that. And then, you know, let us know where you've put it as well, because we love to hear and see how the podcast is transforming all of your guys' lives and how it's working for you. So thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next episode, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.